Hi everybody, I am going to just talk about the decks I'll be using for fall and autumn. So the first deck I'm going to talk about is one I bought in July when Lisa from Tarot Alchemist was doing a series on it. So as soon as I said that, you knew that I meant the Arthurian Tarot. So I've been using it since I got it in July, and you know it so well if you've watched her channel, and who hasn't? But I want to say that this deck has been really good and special for me. It came at the right time. I have sort of increased my work with the plant spirit healing, and this deck I feel goes right along with it. And right around the same time, I was reading the Lloyd Alexander series, which is sort of based on the Welsh Tales, but it was written for kids, and it's a great series. It's a lot of fun if you like that. So all these things were going on around that time that I got this deck. And I'll just talk about a few cards. But the thing is for me is I want to really get to know this deck. So I'm going to use it till the end of the year. Like I said, I started in July. And they have really interesting takes on certain cards. For instance, this is probably my favorite Two of Swords in any deck. So, you just look at it and okay, it's, on the surface, it looks so simple, but with so many of the cards in this deck, you go deeper and you'll find something more. So as I looked at this, and you see there's a path in the center, the two swords, and then there are trees on each side, and there are different types of trees on each side, distinctly different. And then we see the sun here. So it's actually a very peaceful scene, but when I looked at it, what came to me is this is the ultimate peaceful mind, when both sides of our mind are working in harmony. And then when that happens, should that ever occur, then we have, we have that light there. We have the glorious light and illumination that comes from a balanced mind and brain. So I love this Two of Swords. I love it. It's great. Now I'll just talk about a few more that I really have appreciated. Because the 7, let's see, that Stone 7, that's how they word it here. Now I've had this card a couple of different times. So this would be like similar to the 7 of Pentacles. You can see there's a lot going on, but you can see there's a broken wall here. So I had this come up for me one day when it was very important for me to set boundaries with someone. And this was the message for this deck. I really had to look at where the energy leak was and where was I being just a little too nice and it wasn't serving me, right? So the deck came up, come on, take a look at it and set firm boundaries, and I did. Then, a couple weeks later, the card came up again, and it was different for me at that day. That day, it was just a time of me having to kind of rest. I had been working a lot, and I just needed to rest and heal. So, a lot of, depths of meanings in these cards. The Lover's card. I really like this Lover's card. So, again, on the surface, you see the man and the woman coming together, and each are kind of bringing what it is that they offer. She's holding a vessel, and he has symbols of, his manhood. He's got the arrow and the bow. He also has a hawk there. So when you look at it, he is looking at her, and very subtly, she's looking over here at the white heart, and that is what this card is called, the white heart. So she's looking over at that, knowing, that with the commitment comes sacrifice. Of course, when you really invest, and hopefully that sacrifice will allow the commitment to grow strong and really blossom into something wonderful. But this was really kind of stunning and even almost a little jarring to me when I saw how they did this card. And by the way, the book is so very good. So if you have the deck and you're not using the book, I think you're missing out. And I know Lisa is doing a study group, but I'm not in that because I am not on Facebook. But I think I'm sure it's really good what she's doing. Okay, when I saw this card, when Lisa showed this card, I knew I had to have the deck, and that is the Hanged Man as the Wounded King. So as you go through this deck, you will start to really see that some of these people, like for instance, the king here, represents the land, and when he is unwell, so the land suffers. So it goes into that in the book, and I love this. Now, I really do think he is the same guy as the Stone King. Like here, I feel that he is, in his healthy state. Yes, it looks so much like him, and they have the same dog. I did ask Lisa, but we kind of weren't sure. But because he is the earth element, and that king of that element, I think these two are the same guy. I love that the Grail Knight is a bard and a harper. It's just so cool. And again, representing the land, we have justice, we have sovereignty. So of course, if you want to know more about it, you can watch Lisa's video. I'm just showing a few that I love. And I have to say, all of the people, did I say that already? All of the people in the deck are just so welcoming and easy to work with. And I think it's a great deck, and I'm going to continue until the end of the year. I usually go with the solstices and equinoxes. Okay, the next deck I want to continue to work with through the end of the year is the Star Tarot, and was it about a month ago, I guess I got it, and I did a video on it. And I have been enjoying it a lot. I haven't trimmed it yet. I'm thinking about it. I just don't want to mess it up, so I'll see. But what I want to say to you as a little bit of an update about this deck is that it can come through with some slightly different meanings. Actually, very different meanings than other decks that are based on Rider-Waite. So I'm going to show you two here that I wanted to talk about. Oh, okay, yeah, the Five of Pentacles. So this has come up for me a couple of times under, not when I'm under any kind of physical stress or, financial stress. It's come up for me when I'm ready to do a real deep meditation or a journey, because if you see, she is, it looks like she's taking a journey, and she has her wolf with her. So in this deck, this card has taken on something, a lot different for me, and it's been consistent, and I think it's great and beautiful. The same with the Ten of Wands. Now, again, this has not come up for me when I'm having a lot of work to do, but rather it's come up for me, well, when I'm doing energy work. Because if you look at it, it's very energetic looking. With the wands, you can see there's all kinds of, almost looks like electricity all around him. And the strength of the bear is sort of enhancing his own strength. So it's come up when I'm doing that sort of chi work, or again, sort of meditative work. So I'm really enjoying this deck. All right, so those will be both till the end of the year. Now, a deck I'm going to use, I tend to pull this out in the fall, especially the early autumn, and I'll probably use it for about half of the season. And it is the Vampire Tarot by Robert Place. That's the backing. And what I usually do is when I bring the book, when I bring out the deck to work with, I usually now, it's become customary for me to reread the book every year, the original Bram Stoker book. It is such a good book. It is not the glorified sort of romantic version that we see of vampires. It's something so much deeper than that. And one of my favorite cards in this deck, and one of my favorite Two of Cups of all times, is in this deck. And so that is when Arthur, well, okay, we have the doctor here, and he is setting up a blood transfusion between Arthur and his beloved here, who is ill. So in the book, they talk about this, and the woman does die, and Arthur, so they had been engaged, and what he said was, I believe that in the eyes of God that we were married because, I gave her my blood, and we shared that life force and that life energy. So it's just, I thought it was so beautiful, and kind of deeply romantic in a way. But some of the cards in the deck, you know, they are more or less in shadow. So you're going to keep that in mind when you work with the deck. I really do enjoy this deck. Now, I trimmed it, and, you know, if I could go back again, I'm not sure if I would have trimmed it or not. See, that's the point. Once you do it, you can't undo it. But they were so big with those white borders. All of the royal cards are literary. Most of them are literary figures. So the Queen of Cups, in this case it's Holy Water, is Pamela Colman Smith. And Bram Stoker is in here. Edgar Allan Poe is here as the Knight of Stakes. So it's a great deck and fun to work with, you know, this time of year. Now also, when we get to the points of the year where they are the equinox points, I always work with a black and white deck during that week or so. So I've been working with the Gorgon's Tarot, excuse me, this week. And I think I had done a review on this a couple of years ago. It's a fun deck, and the design is just beautiful in it. It's very large, so, you know, if you're going to do anything more than a 3-card spread, you need some room. And I'll just show you one more. Here is the Hierophant. So, yeah, that's a lot of fun. I enjoy this deck, and I enjoy using the black and white decks at those times of the year. Okay, so I guess, you know, those are going to be some of my working decks. But I wanted to limit them because the truth is I get kind of bored, and I like to have different decks to work with, to reach for, as I feel called to. And there are certain decks that I always have around, so, you know, I always have my Alchemical Tarot within reach, somewhere within reach. You know, it's just a favorite of mine, and I've talked about it a lot. You're probably tired of seeing it, right? That's a great Two of Cups as well. And so this is always within reach. I've really been enjoying the Marshmallow Marseille, and I'm keeping that well within reach. I just did a video on that. And I tend to keep a Chiro deck within reach because I like the energy of his decks. They have a real masculine feel, and I just enjoy working with that energy, you know. So I guess, you know what, I guess that's about it. Yeah, so like I said, I'm going to keep lots of room open to work with different decks. So, it was great to talk to you guys. I will see you soon. Take good care. Bye now.